speak Saturday to the Bohemian Grove, a private club of businessmen outside of San Francisco. Today he canceled it and said the club has a tradition of speeches off the record. If he spoke, the press would try to find out what he said there, likely would succeed, and he didn't want to violate the club's tradition of privacy.
Let's look at Northern California. You understand? Yeah. You know what's happening in San Francisco just gone. It's clear over. I know that, but it isn't just down in the ratty part of town. But the upper class in San Francisco is that way. The Bohemian Grove that I attend from time to time, the Easterners and the others that come there. But it is the most faggy goddamn thing you will ever imagine in San Francisco crowd, because it's just terrible. I mean, I don't want to shake hands with anybody in San Francisco.
What do you want me to talk about?
Yeah.
A fraud? No, it wasn't a fraud, but I'll be glad to talk to you if you'll shut up and let me talk now. And a fraud, let me tell you something. I'll tell you a couple of stories about fraud. The Bohemian Club, as you say, the Bohemian Club? That's where all those rich Republicans go up and stand naked against redwood trees, right? I've never been to the Bohemian Club, but you ought to go. It'd be good for you. Get some fresh air.
Defense Secretary Caspar Weinberger canceled plans to go to Bohemian Grove in California this weekend because of the possibility of more flare-ups in the Lebanon crisis. But even without the Defense Secretary, the Bohemian Grove will not close down for lack of power. And what is the Bohemian Grove? Well, it's a kind of summer camp for the powerful, an all-male gathering in great secrecy. More from Dennis Murphy.
George Shultz, Henry Kissinger, and West German Chancellor Schmidt arrived by car. The chairman of General Motors and U.S. Steel came in by private jet.
If you would look at the guest list over a period of 5 years, I don't think there would be anybody of any importance in America who was missing from that list.
Cabinet officers and captains of industry are going to summer camp at Bohemian Grove, an all-male retreat secluded in the Redwood Forest 2 hours north of San Francisco. Outsiders are not invited. What's hidden away is a little bit of Boy Scout camp and a lot of fraternity hokum. There are rituals, bonfires, and the burning of effigies. The members live in lodges with names like Wolf and Caveman. Gerald Ford, Henry Kissinger, William French Smith, and George Shultz are bunkmates at Mandalay Camp. President Reagan's camp, Owl's Nest, is famous for its Eggs Benedict and Ramos Gin Fizz breakfast. But for the most part, stories about what happens in these redwoods are hard to come by. A campground statue reminds Bohemians to keep their mouths shut about the Grove.
I've heard a lot of good music there. I've met a lot of interesting people, and I look forward to listening to music again.
But there are employees who tell tales out of school.
You know, I mean, half of these guys, you know, from what I can tell, you know, stay loaded or stay bombed, you know, the entire time that they're there. I mean, they stagger into breakfast and stagger out from dinner. But at the same time, you know, they're talking business.
And sometimes those business talks send ripples far beyond the Grove. Sociology professor William Domhoff.
Reagan and Nixon talked at length in 1967 in the Grove to decide who would go first in Republican primaries.
While decision makers are cementing friendships, protesters outside the gate are keeping a vigil. To them, the Bohemian Grove is an all-white, all-male, undemocratic policy-making arm of the government. They want the Bohemians to go home. But summer camp won't end until next week. Dennis Murphy, NBC News, Monte Rio, California.
The facts we've shown in this film are absolutely documented. I would only hope that the people of the world realize the organized evil we're dealing with at almost every level. Republican, Democrat, you name it. They're all working on the same team. Ladies and gentlemen, it's called world government, the New World Order, dehumanization. It's not a joke. It's deadly serious. Unfortunately, they've been breeding societies to think everything's a joke. I'm here to tell you truth is stranger than fiction.
The Italian Supreme Court president blames Bilderberg for terrorist attacks, strategy of tension. Their head of their CIA has gone public saying they're staging terror attacks as a pretext to destroy liberty worldwide, that they have the documents. You think you'd see that mainstream news. Also, who gave North Korea nukes in the first place? We have links to 10-year-old mainstream news articles, but you won't see this now. You see, but you will see somebody like Ben Swan cover it, so then Fox tells him, oh, no, just do local stuff. Ben, would you cover stuff like this once you launch your own operation, or is that the ravings of a fascist?
No, absolutely. Listen, I think I'm especially intrigued, by the way, by this this article you guys have up about who gave these nukes to North Korea in the first place. And listen, part of what we do, too, is because what we really try to do is stay away from editorializing. Obviously, we have a little bit different brand in what we do. But one of the things that we're really about, and I love what you guys have done with this, is we try to go back and find sources and find facts from the past. Because one thing that media does not do a very good job of is ever going back and saying, hey, what did we say about this 5 years ago or 10 years ago or 20 years ago? It's the same concept with Al-Qaeda. You mentioned this before, Al-Qaeda in Syria. Well, go all the way back to Al-Qaeda being created with the Mujahideen in Afghanistan, exactly, in the late 1970s, early 1980s. And yet media forgets that conveniently today. They never talk about those issues today, never discuss the fact that our government funded this and created it. And today we're repeating history all over again.
You're right. And at a certain point, it's got to stop, because we see cultures throughout history go crazy, and you know, I talk to a lot of mainstream media people. They don't like what's happening either. They don't like being on a short leash.
Yeah. Well, no, they don't. And there's a lot of really good reporters out there, and smart reporters, and they understand that at the end of the day, they have to do what they're ultimately told to do. And I think that there's more and more people kind of pushing back against that and moving away from it. And again, it's things like access to the internet, and there's just a lot of platforms out there. So, you know, one of the most important things we do, groups like Campaign for Liberty have talked a lot about the absolute necessity of keeping the internet free of government control. And it's vitally important that that happens. And I think your listeners absolutely know that. But again, where I feel like we play a service here is to go out and find folks who don't know it yet.
No, exactly. Everybody's got to promote liberty and go out and wake other people up. Obama's got to rally people to try to take our guns. He needs that grassroots. Look at how the White House senior advisor to Obama came out and said, we hate Drudge Report. We can't even talk because of him picking up what we say. Well, you're the one saying it. That shows how pathetically weak the little man behind the curtain is. But getting back to this North Korea thing, before you leave in a few weeks, your station there, come to him and say, what, I can't cover North Korea threatening to nuke America? Doesn't that affect Cincinnatians locally? And then, you know, do a reality check on the fact that our government and others help give the fissile material to North Korea. How could they say no to you on that?
You know what? I'll absolutely do that. I'll absolutely do that story. We'll do it this next week. We do them Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. And so absolutely, we'll do that story. Because again, you know, the station for us, as we're going out, you know, obviously they have their direction that they're going in. And they've never really suppressed anything we've done. I don't see them suppressing this. So I think we'll be okay with it. But I'll definitely do the story because, as you guys are pointing out, you've got great information here and sources. And these aren't wild conspiratorial sources. These are. Well,
wait a minute. Somebody else has something to say. Somebody else, play him. Yeah, they have something to say to us.
Alex Jones, you piece of garbage. I don't know what your deal is. I really don't know, and I don't care.
Hey, Ben Swan, you're awesome. We need to talk off air.
It's not about agenda. It's not about mobilizing people. It's about dialing for corporate dollars. These two parties have sold the U.S. government and the American people to the highest bidders.